Just a couple years ago, Kia introduced a new subcompact SUV to their lineup called the Seltos. Now, the Seltos was designed to slot above the Soul, but below the Sportage in Kia's North American lineup. And when I first had a chance to test this vehicle, I was really impressed with the overall package. This vehicle is quicker than most of its competitors thanks to a turbocharged engine, and it has really handsome, boxy, rugged styling. Now, for 2022, the subcompact segment has continued to expand with new entries like the Ford Bronco Sport and the Toyota Corolla Cross. So as you can see, this week, Kia has loaned me a 2022 Seltos Nightfall edition. This is a new trim level for 2022 that includes these new black accents, some unique styling, and under the hood, it comes standard with that 1.6-liter turbo engine that gives it quicker acceleration versus most of its competitors. So the big question I want to answer, if you guys are in the market for a subcompact SUV, does Kia's Seltos still represent one of the better options? Stay tuned to find out. Now, before we talk about the exterior styling changes for 2022 on this Nightfall edition, I want to remind you guys what's powering the Seltos under the hood. This is the upgraded engine, a 1.6-liter turbocharged four-cylinder. Now, mostly in this segment, vehicles are very underpowered. They don't typically have turbos, they typically have CVTs, but Kia definitely bucks the trend with this model. Now, you can get a naturally aspirated four-cylinder with a CVT if you step down to the lower trims. However, the Nightfall and the SX trim comes with this engine here. You guys should be pretty familiar with it. It's a 1.6-liter turbo 4, making 175 horsepower and 195 pound-feet of torque. It all goes out through all-wheel drive with a lockable center diff, or it's a lockable power torque split, essentially 50-50. And it goes out through a 7-speed dual clutch transmission. That 7-speed is certainly unique in a world full of CVTs in this particular segment. Fuel economy is rated at 25 in the city and 30 on the highway. Kia does not quote a 0-60 performance, but we have our equipment. We should be able to test it out and see what kind of number we get. In terms of the curb weight, this vehicle weighs in at just under 3,400 pounds, so it is a little bit heavier than its competition because it is a larger car. Now, closing the hood, let's go ahead and take a look at the styling changes that Kia has made. They essentially didn't make any styling changes, but the first thing that you're going to notice immediately for 2022 is the new Kia logo. You can see the older Seltoses. The last year's model had the old Kia logo, and it certainly works very well on the front fascia of this car. This particular Nightfall edition is painted in this gorgeous shade of dark ocean blue with the contrasting white roof. You can see it looks really great. I love the Kia Tiger Nose grill here that has this unique textured accent. You can see there's actually an LED accent that goes into the actual grille. From the headlight, it stops right here in the middle and then continues again to the other side. The one thing I don't like about the Seltos is if you guys want full LED headlights, you have to go for the top trim. You can see this model here has incandescence for the turn signal. You do have an LED daytime running light at least, but down here you can see halogen projectors for the headlight, the low and high beam, and then halogen for the fog lights as well. I don't like how Kia pairs the LED headlights with the top trim. In a world, even in this segment, you can get cars like the Corolla Cross, the Mazda CX-30, the Bronco Sport. All of those have full LED headlights, and you can get them on the lower trims or they're standard equipment. So that's something that Kia needs to increase with the value quotient for this car. Now, in terms of the rest of the profile, you can see the Seltos is bigger versus a lot of the competition at 172.5 inches long. This is built off of the K2 platform, something that it shares with the Hyundai Kona and the Hyundai Accent. However, it does have an independent rear suspension. If you guys go for the all-wheel drive models, you have an independent rear. The front drive models have a torsion beam at the rear axle, which I actually haven't had a chance to sample. Now, you can see the wheels are certainly unique on the Nightfall edition. I love the satin black accents, or satin black 18-inch wheels wrapped in a 235/45 series tire. These wheels are only available on the Nightfall, and I think Kia should offer this on the SX trim. The SX has like a machine wheel. This vehicle has roughly 7.3 inches of ground clearance, which isn't bad, but you're not going to be taking this vehicle off-road. I wouldn't be surprised to see a refreshed Seltos come out next year, and maybe Kia will even add a hybrid powertrain or add an X Pro trim. This car could really do well with like a rugged version, a rugged trim of this car. Now, looking at the roof, you can see, love the contrasting white roof. It definitely gives this car some character. No pano sunroof is available, but on the EX trim and the SX trim, you do get a standard size sunroof. You can see looking at the rear of the vehicle, still a very handsomely proportioned car. I think this vehicle looks better than Kia's own Soul. I wouldn't be surprised if Kia eventually discontinues the Soul with this car carrying forward because it offers all-wheel drive and more space versus the Soul, which they just refreshed it for 2023, and they got rid of the turbo engine. Now, looking at the rear, you can see the taillights have this really cool three-dimensional look. It is an incandescent turn signal and brake light. I believe the higher trims have LED taillights, but you can see same new Kia logo at the back. Very, very attractive styling for this vehicle. Even at the rear, you can see the bumper has these fake exhaust tips, but they're actually hidden underneath the rear bumper where you can't see them. But overall, let me know what you guys think of the styling. I think this is still one of the most handsome subcompact SUVs that you can buy. Now, the rear cargo area, you can see a power tailgate is still not available on this car, which most vehicles in this class don't have it. But the Seltos does give you class-leading space. You get 26.8 cubic feet of space with the second row seats up. You can see underneath here, there is actually a little bit of storage. There's also a spare tire, a temporary spare, which is nice. This load floor, you can kind of pull up and down to raise and lower it. You can see there's two different levels. It's on the lower position now. If you fold down those second row seats, it expands the cargo to 62.8, which is tops in the class. That actually has more versus the Honda HR-V, which has always been the competitor, and the Subaru Crosstrek, which have always been the class leaders. So overall, if you want a little bit more space, you're going to certainly get it in this vehicle. So now let's take a look at the interior of this 2022 Seltos Nightfall edition. The first thing I do want to show you guys is the key fob. You can see Kia first introduced this latest fob on the Stinger. I love how it looks kind of like a detonator. You have your usual lock, unlock, and panic buttons here. No power liftgate like I mentioned, but at least there is remote start. So if you want to reactivate it, just basically push the lock button, push and hold this button here, and that vehicle will start right up for you. I believe you can also use the Kia Connect from your phone app to also remote start the vehicle, but I don't have access to that because this is a press car. Now, approaching the vehicle, you can see there's a button on the door handle. If you touch, you have to basically touch and touch this button to lock and unlock it. There's no sensor on the back of the door handle. But looking at the interior, you can see the Nightfall edition comes with this interior color combination. It's basically black. It's got a combination of cloth and Syntex, which is their faux leather material. You do lose the power driver's seat from the EX trim, which is something that I think Kia should have just kept. And the EX also comes with full Syntex versus the cloth two-tone, but these seats certainly look interesting, although I wish Kia offered more interior color options on this trim. You're basically stuck with a dark interior. In terms of the door panels, you can see they look relatively nice. Lots of piano black trim, aluminum look plastic, but this right here is all hard touch, scratchy plastic. This is padded right here at least with some of that Syntex leather stitching, which is nice. The windows, one touch automatic down, but not auto up. So surprised to see only the driver's side is one touch automatic down and not one touch up. So kind of cost cutting there, but remember, this is on the lower end of the totem pole for Kia's lineup. Now getting inside, it has a really easy step-in height. You have roughly 7.3 inches of ground clearance, like I said. As I get in and shut the door has a nice solid sounding thunk, so it gives you a great impression of quality. Now, starting the vehicle up, the button is right here where you'd expect it to be. And you can hear the chime is different versus other Kia models. I don't particularly like this chime. I feel like I've heard the newest one in the Sportage, which I think sounds better. Thankfully, you get the larger touchscreen here. This is the 10.3-inch display. You can see it has Android Auto and CarPlay. The lower trim will have an 8-inch display, but that includes wireless CarPlay. This, however, you have to actually plug it in. Kia and Hyundai still don't do a wireless CarPlay on their larger screens. In terms of the rest of the materials here, you can see all hard touch plastic on this upper portion, but at least the grading looks nice. This is also hard touch plastic, and if you guys can't really see, this is actually blue. It's actually a dark blue, like a royal blue on this part of the dash. I believe it's unique to the Nightfall edition, but it certainly adds some color into this interior, which it kind of needs because of all the sea of black that you get. I also don't like how none of the dash here is soft touch, but it's okay. You're not going to necessarily touch this panel, but some competitors, again, do have a slightly nicer premium feeling cabin. This certainly looks good. You can see the gauge display. This screen here certainly looks like it's cost cutting. You can get a larger display in the upper trims. I like the steering wheel. It's got the new Kia logo now with some piano black, nice leather wrap stitching. No paddle shifters, but you do have controls for your audio and for the cruise control and the lane keep assist. The horn sounds really dinky. Absolutely hate the horn. Just because it's a small car doesn't mean you want to have a dinky little horn. Down here you can see it's got single zone automatic climate control, not dual zone, but you can see everything is pretty logically laid out. If you guys don't like Kia's new system where you can cycle between audio and climate, this obviously has the older system. When I put the vehicle into reverse, you can see there's the backup camera. It gives you trajectory, which is nice. It has a couple of different views, but no 360 camera on this car. You don't really need it on something that's this small with visibility also that great. I love the way the screen looks. It's very large. It's really quick and snappy. It's easy to use. This car also comes with factory embedded navigation, which is is pretty nice actually. So really happy to see, you know, that feature in here. But most of you are probably not going to use the factory nav. You're probably just going to use the actual embedded GPS, or I'm sorry, the Apple CarPlay feature. There's the settings page. You can see you can adjust a couple of things, vehicle settings, whatnot. It's relatively easy to use, but sometimes it's a little bit slow to respond, as you guys just witnessed. But you can see there's the home page with all your usual apps and widgets. Down here you can see Kia also got rid of the wireless phone charging pad. Instead, you just have two USB-A charging ports. So the EX and up trims has a wireless phone charging pad. Here's your drive mode selector. You have 3 modes: normal, smart, and sport. We'll try out those different modes later on in the test drive. You still get 3 level heated seats. You have a lock button there to lock the torque split 50-50. There's also a downhill brake assist control, which if you take this vehicle off-road, most of you probably won't. I like the shifter. It's traditional. It's leather wrapped. It feels really nice. If you guys prefer that, it has a manual mode in the actual shifter itself, or a sport mode as well, in addition to the sport mode for the drive modes. Traditional handbrake here, which is kind of nice. Lots of more hard plastic here, but you have 2 cup holders, a padded center console here with some decent storage. There's a good amount of space. And then over here on the seats, they are relatively comfortable and supportive. I just wish that Kia gave the power seat on the driver's side like they did on the EX. The glove box you can see is a bin style. It's slightly damp but not lined with felt. And then above me here you can see the rearview mirror is not auto dimming. It's just traditional manual. You do have some LED map lighting in here, and then with no sunroof, there is tons of headroom in here, which is great. So overall, the cabin feels really spacious. It's really easy to use, but it is lacking a couple of features like wireless CarPlay that I think it should have. And I think also at this price, it should include a power driver's seat and a sunroof. Now looking at the back seat, you can see the Seltos, because it's a slightly larger vehicle, you do enjoy copious amounts of rear seat legroom. In fact, this has about 3 inches more than the Kona, versus which is this car's platform mate. The first thing I want to show you, however, the door panels are the same scratchy plastic as the front. A little bit downgrade here because they don't wrap this in the Syntex. It's just hard plastic, but it is padded over here where your elbows would rest, which is nice. But getting back here, you can see at 5'7", I have 38 inches of legroom back here. 38 is among the tops in the class. I believe the new HR-V has about the same amount of space, but you can see there isn't a flat floor here, so 3 across might be a little bit, you have to deal with that hump. But the vehicle itself isn't particularly wide, so you need to be of like a thinner frame to actually be comfortable back here if you're gonna be 3 across. But it's not bad. You can see you have rear seat air vents, USB-A charging port, slightly a bit of storage over there. No heated rear seats, wasn't expecting that. The seats themselves, they do fold down, but they also don't recline. So would like to see a recline function, but you have to kind of lower your expectations in this segment. Folding this down, you can see there is an armrest. Gives you 2 cup holders, which is nice. So overall, this is definitely a bigger back seat versus most of its competitors, and it has rear seat air vents, which I wasn't expecting. That's something that you don't even get in something like the brand new Honda HR-V. Amazingly, it's been a couple years since I had a chance to drive the Seltos. I remember going to the media drive for this vehicle right before the pandemic. Remember, this came out in mid-2019 as a 2021 model. So for 2022, Kia has made some basically no changes to it, although I am driving a new trim level, the Nightfall edition, which basically gives you all the blacked out accents. This is the cheapest way to get into the turbocharged engine. It also comes standard with all-wheel drive. We have a 7-speed dual clutch. I never got a chance to actually 0 to 60 test this model, so we're gonna do that really quick. But my first impressions are quite positive. This feels like a much more upscale car versus some of these other subcompact SUVs in this segment. They just feel like tin cans. This car definitely feels bigger and a little bit more substantial. But let's go ahead and see what we can get with 175 horsepower. I'm not expecting too much, but we'll see if we can brake torque it here, which it doesn't really let you brake torque it. I have everything in sport mode right now. Wow, not bad. 0 to 60 in 6.74 seconds. That's actually quicker than I expected. I was expecting this car to be maybe around a second slower. The dual clutch in this car is their older 7-speed, and I have to say, it is still frustratingly lethargic at times. Although right now, it seems quick to respond. It's just the engine takes a second for it to build boost and to spool up and to rev out. It's just really unrefined sounding, which the 1.6 turbo has kind of always been this way. This is obviously still the quicker option versus if you guys go for the 2-liter naturally aspirated engine with a CVT. But I expect Kia to eventually add a hybrid option for this car, perhaps for the 2023 model year, but let's go ahead and see one more time. This time we're not going to brake torque it. Really slow a little bit, but then once it starts to rev out, feels better. 7.29 seconds. This is with it going slightly uphill versus 6.7. So again, very strong performance, especially in this segment. Remember, everything in this car, in this class, is like a second to 2 seconds slower 0 to 60. I think the HR-V or the Jeep Renegade are one of the slowest options out there, along with the Fiat 500X. So this is definitely excellent performance for the segment. I just think that the transmission, since I've driven Hyundai and Kia's new 8-speed dual clutch, it's definitely feels like a generation behind. Put my foot down here, relatively responsive there, but again, the engine could be smoother, but I like it. It's got good power, but it kind of reminds me why, you know, this segment of vehicle, you could just move up to a Sportage, especially at this price class. I've just driven the new Sportage as well, and it's also a wonderful vehicle. The hybrid powertrain of the Sportage is relatively good, but it's not very quick, so this is definitely the quicker option. But when you're just driving it down the road, we'll put it back into its normal mode here and just kind of cruise along. The ride quality in the Seltos is quite good, actually. It doesn't feel particularly sporty, but I do like how this vehicle feels confident. It also stays relatively quiet in terms of outside noises, aside from the engine making the noises and whatnot. The seats are also pretty comfortable for me. These are like a cloth Syntex faux leather seat that my Nightfall Edition tester has. You can also get full Syntex fake leather if you guys go for the higher trims. Oh, you could feel the dual clutch was kind of like bogging a little bit there. I don't know if that was the traction control, if I was the dual clutch trying to put the power down, but that's where I noticed sometimes it hesitates. It hesitates at lower speeds, and you kind of feel it bucking a little bit. It's a really weird sensation, but I felt this before in other Hyundai vehicles, Hyundai Kia vehicles with this 7-speed. So if you're not asking for it, you know, for maximum acceleration, if you're not driving like I do most of the time for demonstration purposes, if you drive this thing normally, it should be fine. Now, there's 3 different drive modes. There's normal, smart, and sport. Smart is like the adaptive mode. It cycles between normal and sport depending on your throttle application or how aggressively or, you know, calmly you're driving. So that's probably the mode that I would drive it in most of the times, because sometimes, you know, you might need quick acceleration because of the traffic conditions. So that's something to keep in mind. This car does come standard with all-wheel drive, and it's their all-wheel drive system with intelligent control, and it has a center locking power split where it allows you to do 50-50 for the torque split, and it's perfectly fine. This vehicle feels competent, it feels capable. Obviously, it doesn't feel like an off-road vehicle. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if Kia eventually adds an X-Pro version of this. The Seltos has the styling that would do well with an off-road oriented model. But going around these corners here, the steering feels pretty quick. Not very much in terms of feedback, but its responsiveness is good. The suspension also stays nice and flat, yet it also delivers a good ride quality. And there's not really much wind and road noise here, just that engine noise like I mentioned. So overall, I'm pretty impressed with the overall feel of this car. Now that I've driven the new competition from Toyota, from Honda, this from Subaru, the refreshed Kona, I definitely think this car is superior to the Kona, a regular Kona. It would be cool if Kia offered like a Seltos GT if they put the Kona N's powertrain in this car. It would be awesome, but again, it would probably only be front-wheel drive. But you kind of get a sense that you're getting a tweener vehicle. It doesn't feel as small as some cars like the Jeep Renegade, for example, or the Honda HR-V, which can feel a little bit small. This feels really nice, honestly. It feels like an in-between car between a subcompact and a compact, and you got tons of room on the inside. You get reasonably good tech, although Kia needs to up the value quotient a little bit for this Nightfall edition. It's missing some options that I think it should have. And in terms of fuel economy, this vehicle has been averaging around 24 mpg in mixed driving for me. On the highway, it got just shy of 30, around 29 miles to the gallon. So not bad, but not great, not class-leading numbers. If Kia did a hybrid of this vehicle, it should do, you know, it could do closer to 40 mpg, which I think is the magic number to hit, especially since you can get a RAV4 hybrid that'll get that mpg. The Sportage hybrid gets 38 mpg. So again, fuel economy is definitely behind, but certainly not with the power. So if you want something that's quicker, that's bigger, that's more comfortable, this is definitely still worth a look. Just know that there is probably a refreshed version coming in the next year or so, so you may want to end up waiting for that as well. So after spending a week with the 2022 Kia Seltos, this vehicle certainly still surprises me. I like the overall package that Kia is offering here. You still get more interior space and more trunk space versus most of its competitors. With that turbo engine, you guys saw 0 to 60 in 6.7 seconds is just silly fun, especially for a vehicle in this price category. And the inside, in terms of the tech, I like the 10.3-inch display. I do think it still needs wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which Kia and Hyundai still need to get on that bandwagon for their larger touchscreens. The smaller 8-inch has it. However, if you want the bigger screen, you have to actually plug in your phone. It still has really attractive styling, especially in this dark ocean blue with the white roof with the Nightfall package. Really, where Kia is starting to fall short for me is in terms of the fuel efficiency and the overall value, because this vehicle here at around $28,400, it is missing some features that I think it should have, namely a sunroof and LED headlights. If it had those two features, I think it'd be a great value, but without them, I'm gonna have to ding this car a couple of points because those features can come standard on some of its competitors at a similar or less expensive price range. Now, speaking of which, if you guys want to buy this vehicle, they start at just under $23,000 for the base version with front-wheel drive. Most of you are probably going to go to the S trim for another $2,000. The EX trim is kind of the sweet spot at around $26,000 as well. Same with this car. This car starts around $26,000 for this trim. If you guys want a Seltos with LED headlights, you have to buy the SX trim. That also is the trim that includes adaptive cruise control. Again, some competitors give you adaptive cruise as standard. This car does come standard with automatic emergency braking and lane keep assist, but not adaptive cruise. Basically, a fully loaded Seltos is going to be just over $30,000, which is still a relatively good deal. Most of the competitors are around the $30,000 mark fully loaded, but if you want to buy a baser end trim, just know that you are giving up features that I think this car should have, especially at the $28,000 price tag. So hopefully Kia will address those with a 2023 refresh where they add a hybrid powertrain, they add standard LED headlights, and perhaps expand some of the options versus just excluding them to the top of the line trim. But with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the 2022 Kia Seltos Nightfall Edition. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.